Welcome to the PKG Center webinar, Engaging Your Local Community. We are so delighted to have you join us for this session, which should take about 45 minutes. We have a few notes just before we get started. First, this session is being recorded. You may turn off your video feature or opt out of participating if you would like. If in the case that Zoom does go down during this talk, please give us about 10 minutes to troubleshoot, and then we'll be in touch with an alternative arrangement. If after 10 minutes we cannot fix it, we'll give you an email with a new scheduled time to try this again. We encourage that you ask questions throughout this webinar. All participants except PKG speakers are muted. You may ask questions by using the chat feature located at the bottom of your screen. We'll try and answer questions in writing throughout the session. If we are unable to get to your question, we'll also review questions at the end of the presentation to make sure we get to everybody. We have also added several polls to this presentation to encourage audience participation and also just to keep it a little more interesting. So thank you for your participation ahead of time. After this presentation, we'll email all participants 7 resources with more specific links and ideas to help you get started in your own local community efforts. So to get us started, we'll introduce our presenting staff. My name is Sarah Bouchard, and I am the Assistant Dean of Community-Based Programs at the PKG Center. Presenting along with me today are...
Hi, I'm Danny Becker. I am our Program Coordinator at the PKG Center, so I help manage our student engagement strategies as well as civic engagement initiatives.
Hi everyone, I'm Bianca. I'm the Program Assistant at the PKG Center. I help support programs and I do back-end support for the center.
Hi everyone, I'm Jill Bassett, Associate Dean and Director of the PKG Center. I'm thrilled that you all are taking time out of your schedule today to join us.
And also joining us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Danielle Reddy. I'm the Director of Student Alumni Relations in MIT's Alumni Association. Thanks so much for being here today.
And we're thrilled to see people continuing to join this chat. I should note we have a great audience of alumni, students, and also community neighbors around MIT joining today. So thank you so much for joining us. To get us started, for those who are not as familiar, we are the PKG Center, and our mission is to tap and expand MIT students' unique skills and interests to prepare them to explore and address complex social challenges and environmental challenges. We educate students to collaborate ethically and effectively with community partners to engage in meaningful public service today and in their lives beyond MIT. We love connecting with students and often try to infuse more fun into our work than the seriousness that surrounds the pandemic. We want to connect student skill to organizations and people that want to utilize them for public good. Our center offers programming, advice, and funding for public interest projects.
Hi everyone. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the MIT Alumni Association is doing in this current global crisis, some initiatives that are organically forming and some that we're forming across campus with partners. So our regional clubs have been doing a lot as they've seen need. Some of the things here, the Club of Israel has been working to ask alumni to donate pro bono hours to help people in need right now. The club in Brazil has done a gift card collection that they're using those gift cards to help those who might be less fortunate. And our clubs in China have done PPE collecting now that China is less in need and we're more in need, and they've sent that to MIT for distribution to local hospitals. We're also partnering with the PKG Center and our colleagues in career advising and professional development to ask alumni to think about potential virtual internship and job opportunities for our students. The Graduate Student Council is partnering with the Alumni Association to do some virtual fireside chats with alumni, where alumni can really share with graduate students their experience of working in a financial crisis and through a financial crisis. We are about to launch virtual alumni and student dinners for both undergrad and graduate students and alumni, where alumni will host a Zoom dinner with 12 students for a casual conversation about their career path and experience. And the final thing is the MIT Advisors Hub, which is a one-to-one mentorship platform that all alumni and students can join through the Alumni Association's Infinite Connection. It's searchable by career path, it's searchable by where you lived on campus, what student activities you participated in, and where you are in the world today. All of this information and more will be distributed to alumni through two vehicles. One is the bi-weekly tech connection that'll come out every 2 weeks now, and one is a letter from our CEO Whitney Espick and the board president Eric Caulfield. So those will be coming into alumni inboxes this week.
Thanks, Danielle. In coming up with this guidance, we've consulted with many peer institutions and centers, colleagues, as well as drawn from our team's extensive community engagement experience. Peer institution consensus is emerging on best responses for centers like ours, as well as local community efforts. We are very appreciative of our networks at this time, as we find ourselves indeed in largely uncharted territory. Determining what is truly useful versus resource consuming is difficult. Other larger scale disasters, however, like Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Maria, have helped to teach us important lessons and to learn how to emerge during crises like this. Consensus around first minimizing the burden on the community and protecting safety has stood out as the most important guidance around local efforts currently. The second element that has arisen centers on listening to community organizations and impacted individuals as experts of their own realities. While we may be tempted to jump in and to innovate right away, there's a lot of nuanced background information, lessons learned, and context that organizations know from their everyday work. In addition, many are too tapped to correct well-meaning but misdirected efforts. We have to first meet organizations where they are, responding to their specifically articulated needs. We'd like to note that at the PKG Center, we often champion the rigor of public service, using your knowledge, skills, and passion to make the world better. In this presentation, we're largely focusing on immediate actions, which tend to be simpler and straightforward, like donating money or donating blood. In time, we believe that more nuanced needs will emerge. And when they do, we're here to help you consider how to best support those efforts. We're so happy to have you with us. We miss students a lot, and it's great to see colleagues' faces. And we want to get a sense of where people are now that we are all scattered to our respective locations. So we do have a quick poll to get us an idea. Please forgive the limited options available. We hope, though, that this will give us a broad sense of where you all are today. Fantastic. Answers are coming in. I'll share what we have quickly. It looks like a majority of folks are connecting with us from the Northeast, but folks from all over the US as well. We know the time difference is a little bit of a challenge for our international colleagues, and we will have a recording of this to share with folks after. So the question that we're all facing today is, how can I help? We are all here because we recognize that many communities are struggling and we want to make a difference. The PKG Center works with community organizations frequently and hopes that we can share resources to allow us to all boost our community efforts. As we get into this webinar, you'll see that there is no big secret in this presentation. These are community-informed ideas, and a lot of them are very common sense. One of the biggest takeaways that we hope to provide is to consider how you can be most useful to those that need it, especially in the beginning of a crisis, without getting in the way. Sometimes we have the skills and resources to contribute, and sometimes we need to hold back until we're more prepared. Often in a crisis, we all want to help, and doing it in collaboration with experts is much more effective than individualized, sporadic efforts. In this case, we will be most helpful and effective by first following the public health guidance that we're being given, and second, meeting need that is requested and which matches our skills and resources.
In times like this, when it feels like some of us might be doing so little, don't count out how important it is to remove yourself from really making the situation worse. By practicing the recommended hygiene and social distancing, you're really removing yourself from being a carrier of the virus and therefore becoming an additional burden on an already stretched healthcare system. This really should not be undervalued and really is itself a great form of public service. By doing this, you're minimizing harm and you're being a crucial element in the public effort to really combat the virus. So follow the recommended practices that we're seeing everywhere from TV to the internet, and that'll be a part of your public service.
We all face a challenging current reality. Some of us are juggling work out in the world while some are quarantining at home. Some of us have experienced illness personally or within our networks. Still, others are facing additional caretaking burdens of others. In addition to you taking care of yourself for your own benefit, it's critical to remember that you help community efforts by taking good care of yourself. If you work to the point of exhaustion, sickness, or intense stress, you are increasingly less effective as a helper. You do not want to become a burden on resources, yourself, and you do not want to be a difficult collaborator. Food, water, sleep, exercise, and social supports, these are the big 5 protective factors that will help you take care of yourself and stay well. At the same time, asking for help when you need it can help stave off a snowball effect later. For MIT students, staff, and faculty, check out MIT COVID-19 page to see the list of supports available.
For our alumni who may be interested in how to help, there is an MIT AA COVID-19 page, and the link is here on this slide. Again, that will list events that are happening, ways to help in your community, and other resources that MIT has provided. The MIT Alumni Advisors Hub link is here as well, as I mentioned earlier. MIT Switchboard is MIT Alumni Association's own sort of Craigslist space. We've seen alumni and students interacting on that page with offers for housing, offers for travel, and help in other ways. You can also connect with a local club in your area. The link here below will show you all of the ways that all of our different clubs across the world are working to help solve this crisis.
Several key trends are emerging in communities across the globe. These are financial insecurity, high demand for social services, and shifted operations, with many organizations adjusting hours, shifting to remote work, or closing at least temporarily. Even relatively early in this crisis, many organizations are starting to feel the impact of the crisis. In the first major week, at least in the New England region, March 16th, 3.3 million unemployment claims were filed that week. And since then, more than 10 million other claims have followed. We can all see locally that organizations are closing, at least temporarily, and also shifting hours and operations. Safety precautions are being implemented, and some organizations are ordered to be closed. Some are overburdened, like shelters, and many are shifting to remote work. So our colleagues in the community organizations are balancing their own personal family needs with the needs of their clients while also reinventing how they do their work. Idealist.org is an organization that works to connect individuals to public interest jobs, internships, volunteering opportunities, and organizations. They recently conducted a study about nonprofits in the United States in the wake of COVID-19, and it was determined that a majority of organizations will be significantly impacted, as you can see on your screen. As we look at the reality these organizations face, there are several principles that we will keep in mind moving forward. 1, community practitioners are the experts of their own realities. They have done work on the front lines for years, understand the needs of those they serve, safeguards in place for their clients, and the context that influences their work. If they do not have capacity to take on volunteers or even respond, that is understandable, and we have to accept that. As they articulate the needs that they have, those are the most urgent. We may want to contribute in innovative ways that we identify. We strongly recommend that you first meet the needs as defined by community organizations themselves. Learn the context, meaning the social, political, and economic reality underlying the organization's work. And as you get to know the organization, their needs, and they get to know you, then you can propose your own innovations. This will take a commitment of time. Even prior to this crisis, many nonprofit organizations operated with small budgets, living on the edge. In a quote from the New York Times recently, which illustrates the financial reality that many are facing, they said that in a 2018 survey by the Nonprofit Finance Fund, a consultant organization, 3/4 of nonprofits said they would run out of cash in less than 6 months. 19% said they had only enough funds to last at the most for 1 month. Nonprofits live on the edge, pouring everything they have into their mission. As this quote shows, many were set to be in fairly dire circumstances if they lost revenue streams. At the same time, community needs are now rising and services are greatly needed. We are seeing services shrink out of financial impacts, safety considerations, and mandates to shut down temporarily or be remote, as well as increased need. Organizations are also seeing volunteer inquiries skyrocket, as in so many of us that are joining here today want to make a difference. Meals on Wheels in Oregon represents this well. As a result, some organizations are already at capacity for volunteers. We need to respect that and wait if needed.
Here is a sampling of several organizations doing work nationally and sometimes internationally as a part of direct COVID-19 response. And then the cities of Boston and Cambridge are also mounting a really impressive response to COVID-19. And the resources that we'll be sending around will provide links to both cities' central pages. Both are looking for healthcare provider volunteers, and Boston is still actively seeking protective personal equipment, PPE, for medical professionals. Website hubs like Life Science Cares also list local opportunities to engage, including asks for cleaning supplies for shelters, hygiene kits for families, supporting the food gap created at places like Caspar Shelter, which is right by campus, and helping with online learning for organizations like Project Help, and so much more. In this sampling, we see specific asks for relevant skills-based volunteers. For those that don't have the skill set needed, there are more plug and play opportunities like donation available. A lot of local organizations are responding, and some do have emergency funding to meet new community needs. So a few examples of that: East End House has an emergency food pantry, infant necessities, and emergency childcare. Boston's Healthcare for the Homeless is hiring a lot of new temporary staff to support their clients' needs. Haley House is asking folks to buy gift cards to their bakery. And other organizations, both around MIT locally and in Boston, and ones like People Making a Difference, founded and run by MIT alum Lori Suruda, are sharing remote service opportunities like mailing cards to the elderly, and they all continue to offer opportunities as well. So there are lots of ways for individuals to be involved, especially in the broader Cambridge community.
You may have a wide variety of skills that you would like to use to help, while an organization has very explicit, simpler asks. Sometimes that can look like organizing, sorting, editing, or compiling resources. Again, we trust that practitioners and community members on the front lines every day are the experts of their own realities and know what they need. They have learned a vast amount about their work and they understand what is needed right now. If you have more skills to add, first meet these organizations where they are, help achieve what they ask, and learn while you do it. As you develop a relationship with the organization, you'll be more in a position to offer innovations or more advanced skill contribution. Your efforts will be better informed by the real context also. The advice we hear again and again is not to be a volunteer diva from the start. We are also very grateful to MIT's Office of Institute Events, the Community Services Office, and the Office of Government and Community Relations. They have shared many local initiatives that impact the organizations that neighbor MIT. After this presentation, we'll include their information in the resources that we email out. We encourage folks in the Cambridge and Boston area to consider how they might be able to support these neighbors.
As you do consider local volunteer opportunities, we ask that you remember these principles. Volunteer requests and asks should come from those coordinating relief efforts and managing organizations. Opportunities to engage should be defined by the community partner. And if nothing is available, try to take to heart that you're supporting social distancing measures.
So we are curious, we've run this webinar a couple times and it's been interesting to see the different levels of engagement that both students, faculty, staff, and alums have had with organizations locally. And we'd love to get a sense from you. Have you reached out to an organization already? Are you waiting to learn more? Have you heard back? So we have a quick poll just to see where folks are in this process. Fantastic. We've got a lot of answers coming in. I will share those with you. It's really heartening to see this. It sounds like a good number of people have reached out to organizations already and have heard back. That seems to be a shift even from the previous week when a lot of places were unable to respond. And for those of you that have been waiting or want to learn more, we really do hope that these resources that we email out after will provide you with a good starting point for that. So thank you for that.
These are some of the current ways that folks can volunteer locally. We want to highlight a term that's becoming more and more popular called mutual aid. These are groups that consist of neighborhood members who identify an informal network of needs and supports. For example, local elderly neighbors that need grocery assistance and members in a lower risk group who may have cars. These groups are emerging all around the world. They're free to join and they're based in local community efforts and connection. To find out if there's a mutual aid in your neighborhood or town, you can just Google it. A lot of mutual aid groups are using simple Google Forms to gather information and plan collaborative efforts. We also want to point out that many schools provide free and reduced meals to children and families that are low income, but now that schools are not in session, the family's access to foods has been disrupted. However, many schools are setting up their own food pickup programs for families, so you can check out your local public schools to see if they have issued requests for help.
We did also, when we had a student-only webinar, we asked students, what animal would you adopt if you could foster an animal right now? So we do just have a quick, fun question to compare our alumni majority audience with the student answers, if you're willing to share. Oh, it seems that the students are creating a new trend as our alums have chosen different animals, which is very exciting. I'll share what we have so far. You'll see that our alumni are interested in a variety of foster opportunities where our students very overwhelmingly selected baby goat. Great, thank you so much.
Some remote volunteering options do exist, whether this is through online portals or through direct connections. Check out our volunteering resource page, which we'll send afterwards for specific suggestions, as well as links to hotlines. A few popular ones that we want to highlight are catchafire.org, where you can find remote volunteering, as well as Taproot Foundation. Here you can apply for skilled volunteer positions using professional skills. You're then matched with nonprofits seeking support. You can also help organizations find resources as they face intense financial strain, or check out state foundations. Many are allocating emergency funds to nonprofits, providing direct services as well as the arts. And you can help local organizations access these processes by investigating more. And if you do want to share your skills with others, whether to support remote education opportunities, fitness, or the arts, please remember that it wouldn't be an adequate service if you don't consider the protective measures in place for vulnerable groups, such as minors, those with disabilities influencing their guardianship, and the elderly. If you do want to actually help, please do it right, meaning make sure you get parent consent for any remote sessions or workshops with minors and follow all best practice guidances. MIT's Working with Minors has all the guidance that MIT community efforts must follow.
So while some of us might be on the front lines or caring for a sick family member, others might be simply frustrated at being trapped inside. So we really actually see this as an incredible opportunity to practice advocacy at all levels of government and for organizations. There are many guides online by organization or cause with step-by-step guidance on how you can contact officials through writing letters, leaving advocacy calls, or collaborating on petitions. COVID-19 itself is raising many important social issues that need advocacy effort. For paid sick leave, maternal health care, resources for undocumented folks, advocacy for incarcerated individuals. There are senators advocating around prison reform, and the ACLU is activating on civil liberties during the time of quarantine. There's also initiatives for emergency aid for nonprofit organizations. So we encourage you to find your own organization that you're passionate about. We also will be sending out a how to contact your elected officials at the end of this as well. Finally, 2020 is still a big year. It's the census, so be aware of making sure that you and your loved ones are counted. And as the primaries roll out and the election comes, there may be different opportunities to support the polls and be a poll worker. So keep an eye out for those opportunities as well.
And recognizing that there are so many causes rising to the front of everyone's minds, we'd love to get a sense from you. What are the issues currently that you would be most inclined to advocate around? We were very excited to see from our student answers last week a wide variety of interest, which we tend to recommend that when groups are trying to target advocacy efforts, if different individuals target different causes, you can spread out the effort rather than just concentrating on one cause. And though that can help at times, it also can help move many things forward. So to give a sense of our respondents so far, it does seem like folks are worried about some of the same things. So I'll share what we were able to get so far. Emergency aid for nonprofits does seem to be at the forefront of everyone's minds because they serve so many different audiences and clients. So it is nice to see that. And in our resources that we send around, you'll see different direct and specific connections for some of these causes. So some folks and mutual aid efforts are starting their own online fundraisers, and you may choose to coordinate a fundraiser yourself, which is a great idea, but we do suggest caution with this. Many online fundraisers take a percentage that is fairly high out of your donation as a fee. So if you do an online option as an outreach method, we suggest that you allocate your money wisely. Make sure that there is a clear accountability plan on the part of the organizers. There are far too many stories of folks mismanaging money they were not prepared to receive, and sometimes this has ended up in legal problems and even prison sentences for those organizers. If you find yourself coordinating a drive, follow up with your donors to let them know exactly where the money goes. Also, communities are getting creative. For example, in Cambridge, the Kendall Square Business Association and the city of Cambridge is having restaurants contracted to make food for those in homeless shelters, and other nonprofits are being contracted for emergency family support services. Look at your own community news and also local business organization websites to investigate where innovation is happening in your own neighborhood and support that if you can. When we email our additional materials after this call, we'll also include some Cambridge philanthropic organizations that have been recommended by our colleagues in the Community Services Office, which highlights some of our most immediate neighbors around MIT.
And so when it comes to alumni philanthropy, there are 3 ways that MIT is asking alumni and community members to give to support what's happening right now. So if you go to the MIT Alumni Association COVID-19 page, there are links to the COVID-19 Emergency Fund, the Research Fund, and Student Life Wellness and Support Funds. There will be a description of what each of those funds support on the page. We also encourage alumni to share their skills and talents. You'll be hearing more and more about virtual networking sessions and skills sharing sessions for early this summer. If you feel as though you have a particular skill you'd like to share or network with, please be in contact with us. Again, we're looking for alumni who want to share their experience in an economic downturn with students who might be concerned about it. PKG will have opportunities also on that Alumni Association page, including their PKG practitioners in now remote resident, along with judges for PKG's Ideas Challenge, which is a social entrepreneurship competition. You can also offer to host networking events, virtual internships, virtual dinners, virtual fireside chats, and a number of other virtual opportunities that will come to pass over time.
We would like to make a quick note about materials donations. We have folks at MIT who are great at determining what is actually useful versus not as helpful. MIT has proceeded with caution in 3D printing materials. They take safety, sterilization, and standardization into account, as well as gathering materials from labs to donate. Of note, often traditional donation drives that involve the collection and distribution of items are incredibly time-consuming. They involve sorting, matching, and delivery. This takes time. It keeps staff from other vital tasks, and it also involves shipping and transportation costs. We would recommend against these types of donation drives, often involving food and clothing currently. Donating money to organizations who know what they need best allows for them to allocate resources to vendors and warehouses directly, allowing for the safe shipping of goods to exactly where they need to go. Otherwise, if a hospital or organization has a specific call for specific materials, you could donate those if you have them. There are also increasingly Amazon wish lists available online. We ask that you make sure these come directly from the organization listed, as the right goods can more easily be delivered to the right place that way.
These are a few actions that are especially relevant during the COVID-19 outbreak. And these are some of the direct responses that you can take. In addition, different organizations are providing legislative and advocacy guides for a variety of issues around COVID-19, often focusing on relief efforts and equitable and inclusive responses. These range from supporting undocumented immigrants, incarcerated individuals, refugees, those experiencing homelessness, and beyond.
If we do truly want to help, we must follow due diligence to serve others as is best, according to evidence-based practice recommendations. This includes taking individual safety into account. If working with minors or other vulnerable groups, make sure you are familiar with legal reporting requirements around disclosures of abuse and neglect. Make sure guardian consent is followed. Also, crisis tends to exacerbate social challenges, as we're seeing. Especially for folks that are already experiencing discrimination, and often instances of systemic and personal microaggressions and overt bias emerge or grow. We ask you to consider who is most vulnerable in your community, who will get assistance, who will be left out, which people and organizations are trying to ensure inclusion and equity.
So there are many great sources of information available, and we'll be sending some out as well, including flattenthecurve.com, where you can learn about the epidemiology of the pandemic, as well as some resources from Johns Hopkins about coronavirus to see the cases and the spread. There's also some information on there about physical distancing, more flattening the curve charts, and the importance of sheltering in place and what that means. We are also going to be providing resources on how to spot fake news, because we know that that's a very relevant concern. And building from what Sarah said, we have additional resources about how to challenge racism and provide support to communities like Asian American communities that are facing increased targeting. We also have resources from the BU School of Public Health and their online seminar series, and we encourage you to check out the independent sector and see what other news and resources are coming out while keeping in mind where they're coming from.
So there are many methods of social change and ways to make a difference. This image is from Minnesota's Campus Compact, which is a service learning organization nationally and state-based, and it illustrates these methods very well. Different methods are more appropriate in different scenarios, and also depending on your personal resources and skill set. Consider your own background and the ways that you can make a difference. For now, easier, simple volunteering tasks are being asked for, and they are available. But down the road, we expect that more nuanced and skills-based tasks will emerge. We are here at the PKG Center remotely, and we are here to help you navigate your options. Contact us, and we'll be happy to brainstorm more with you. We also polled students in our previous webinar about this social change wheel to get a sense of what types of opportunities they're most excited about, and we'd love to get a sense from you all as well. So I have a quick final poll that covers volunteering, civic participation, social impact internships and employment, entrepreneurship, philanthropy, and advocacy. Great. And a wide variety of modes of social change are represented here, which is great to see. I will share the results so you can see them also. There we go. So it looks like a majority of folks on this call are interested in volunteering and also considering different internships and social impact employment opportunities, which is very exciting for the PKG Center, as we are needing to get creative and brainstorm new opportunities over the summer. So we're thrilled to connect with you all about these things, and we'll be having different opportunities for those engagements. So after this presentation, we will send you a series of resources to help you get started, including links to specific databases for searching for opportunities, organizations, and more. In that email, we'll also share a link to a brief survey for alumni asking about your personal involvement with public interest initiatives. We're really curious to hear what you have done, and we would hope to get a sense from you of things that you might be able to offer guidance on for current students. And if you're interested, we'd love to connect with you more. It could be public interest careers, philanthropy efforts, board membership, as well as other activities you've been part of. And as we consider new projects for students over the summer, it'll be great to have ideas from our alumni community. We're here to help connect students to great public projects, and we appreciate connecting with you. Of note, we are also creating social impact internships for students, and we're very excited to hear about great organizations that would want to host a student, especially remotely. So we'll include that in that survey, and if you're interested, please reach out to us. So before we do wrap things up, we'd love to open up the floor to questions from our audience. And so if you do have outstanding questions, please feel free to write them in the chat box now, and our staff will answer those.
And Sarah, as the first questions roll in, I know that we have given plenty of resources. So where would you recommend someone starting if they're starting from really square one?
I think square one would be to think about the type of engagement that you want. So if you're thinking, I want to volunteer in my own community, we have a resource for that, like the page will be volunteer locally. And I would look at that because we'll have several databases that you can use where folks, organizations that are formal and also informal can post opportunities. We would also recommend that you would Google mutual aid and the name of your town, because those are informal networks that are springing up with really simple Google forms. So we would recommend even just a simple Google search would help. If you're looking for more remote opportunities, check out that page as well. As Bianca mentioned, catchafire.org and also the Taproot Foundation have a lot of great remote opportunities. And so they would be a strong place to start. Great question, thanks. Any other questions coming through to our co-hosts?
Someone was asking how we're continuing to connect to students.
Yeah, so the PKG Center, though we are remote, we are fully operational. And so we're looking at new creative ways to connect with students, as well as how to carry current programming forward. So our Ideas Global Challenge is going to continue forward. We're very excited about that. The student teams that have put forward their great ideas they've worked really hard. And so we'll be doing a remote showcase at the end of April, and you can check that out on our website to see what they'll be doing. You can also vote for your favorite innovations from students. So we're thrilled to see that still happen. Some of our summer programming that's early in the summer, we're assessing what can we do and what can't we do based on MIT's guidance. So a lot of things are still sort of up in the air. The things that we're able to carry forward, we will, and other things will create remote opportunities as we can. We do also recognize that a lot of PKG students had summer plans internationally that have been canceled. And so we would encourage students to come to us to check out social impact opportunities. And our hope is to find new organizations and point students towards those opportunities so that they can still have a great summer with exciting public service opportunities.
Another question, building from that, what types of organizations can host social impact internships?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks think it has to be a nonprofit, but the truth is that many organizations do public interest work, whether they're a nonprofit or not. So it could be a government organization, it could be a 501c3, it could be a company that has a corporate social responsibility wing, it could be research that's geared towards the public good. And so our definition for social impact employment is beyond just the nonprofit sector, though it includes it. It's towards a wider audience. And I did want to clarify, I referenced Ideas' old name, and they have rebranded. It's Ideas Social Innovation Challenge, and I need to practice saying that better. But we encourage you to check out the PKG website to see more about that. Any other questions before we sign off? All right. The PKG Center is available online. If you check out our website, you'll see our staff have office hours available via Zoom. So please feel free to contact us to set up meetings if you'd like, or just reach out to the center with different ideas and opportunities. I do want to thank Danielle for joining us today. It's so great to have you on this webinar. Thank you. And I also would love to thank Bianca, Danny, and Jill for joining too. Thank you all for being here, for asking great questions. We look forward to sharing the materials with you, and we look forward to seeing what you do with them. So please let us know. We are wishing everyone good health and safety, and we look forward to connecting again. Thank you so much.